Mr. Chairman. This increase caters for maintenance and infrastructure upgrades at the National Exhibition Center, such as repairs and repainting of the external walls, servicing of gutters, roof and windows of the Secretariat building, repainting of walls at the head office. Mr. Chair, every year, as you know, we hold the Guy Expo at the National Exhibition Center. And sometimes there have been some upgrades that we have to do on an annual basis. And so we've catered in this year's budget for some works to be done there. So we wouldn't have to go back to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley.
Can we now turn attention to 6291? Mr. Chair, revised 2025 figures 94 million, and budgeted for 2026 is 298 million, if I'm getting my numbers accurate. Can the Honorable Minister explain this stark increase?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as you may have seen, His Excellency as well as myself have been speaking at length about the trajectory of the tourism sector. One of the things that we included even in our manifesto is a calendar of events, because we'd like to make the tourism sector more predictable. We would like to ensure that we publish that calendar of events to entice more visitors to come to Guyana. People depend on predictability, and they depend on adequate notice for them to be able to book their plane tickets so that they can plan their travel. And so you may have heard us speak about a lot of existing events that we would like to elevate and enhance so that we can attract more visitors to come to Guyana, such as the Origins Fashion Festival, the One Guyana Gospel Worship Concert, and we spoke about some new events that we'd like to see this year, such as the Guyana Festival, a Reggae Fest, and of course we have this year also our Diamond Jubilee celebration, our 60th Independence Anniversary. So catering for these events and the addition of the new events, this is what this line item is catering for.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can the
Go
Honorable
ahead,
Minister,
Honorable Member.
can the Honorable Minister disaggregate the new events, not the old ones, the cost for the new events that are coming on stream this year?
Honorable Minister.
So, Mr. Speaker, we have, as I mentioned just now, the Guyana Festival, we have the Reggae Fest, and we also have the State of the Tourism Industry Conference, which I announced in my budget speech, the Caribbean Tourism Organization's premier conference that we will be hosting in Guyana for the first time this year. These are some of the new items.
Mr. Chair, I asked for the cost attached to the new.
So the indicative numbers are Reggae Fest, we have about 50 million there, Guyana Festival 80, One Guyana Worship 70, we have the CTO conference about 80.
Thank you. Can the Honorable Minister state whether the Bartiga Regatta is funded under this line item?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there is a long list of events that are catered for in this line item. I'd be happy if the member can advocate that we get some more funding For this line item, we have Mashramani, we have the Food Festival, we have Guy Expo, we have regional expos, Christmas Village, the ones I mentioned before. We have Emancipation, Amerindian Heritage, Pagua, Rodeo, and we also, based on the requests from different committees, including the Bartica Regatta Committee, we always give sponsorship from the Ministry of Tourism.
Would the Honourable Minister state if there is a sum that will be allocated to Bartica Regatta this year?
We haven't earmarked a sum, but we always support the Bartica Regatta, and we will support the Bartica Regatta this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley. That's it. Honorable Member, Mr. Cuse, Sharma Solomon.
On the same line item, Mr. Chair, can the minister just confirm also for the Linden Tongue Week if there is support in that for the Linden Tongue Week as much for the Bartica Regatta?
I didn't hear the end of the question.
The Linden Tongue Week, you said that there is some level of support given for the Bartica Regatta. Is that also applicable for the Linden Tongue Week?
Yes, the Linden Tongue Week is catered for, and actually it's catered for across at least 2 programs in the ministry that will be supporting the Linden Tongue Week.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 23, Program 231, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, let us turn to page 523. Honorable members, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 23, Program 231, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. The honorable member. I now put a question, honorable members, that the sum stated for Program 23 for Agency 23, Program 231, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Let us turn to pages 154 and 55. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 23, Program 232, Business Development Support and Promotion, current expenditure stands part of the estimates.
Mrs. Chair,
Honorable Member, Ms. Halley.
6321, subsidies and contributions to local organizations, which takes us to the Guyana Small Business Council and Guyana Small Business Bureau. Mr. Chair, there's a budgeted amount of $367 million. But when we go to the indicators, it shows that 74 persons or businesses were given some either grant or loans in 2025, and all of the money was spent. And I'm wondering from the minister, based on the 74 businesses, what measures are being put in place to ensure that this number increases to the amount that is projected for 2026?
Honorable Minister.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member, for the question. The, there has been a strategic shift, as I mentioned in the National Assembly before, that we've moved away from the traditional grants and that we are um, focused more on community projects that have a bigger impact on the community, benefits more people in the community, and projects that are sustainable, projects that creates jobs, and projects that, uh, of course, sustains the community. Um, this number will be significantly increased in this year, 2026, but there's been a number of communities that have benefited from this new position in terms of the community projects. We've been working closely with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, and working with community groups so that we can impact more people, create jobs, and sustain these communities.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, can the minister kindly break down the $336 million dollars? How much goes to the actual loan? How much is administrative and staffing costs? And how much of it is operational overheads?
Honorable Minister.
Which line item are you referring to?
This is the 6321. Small Business Bureau.
Subsidies to local organizations.
So we have the Small Business Bureau. Their contribution has increased by 32,108,000. This is under 6321. Employment costs increased by 5.2 million. Other charges increased by 26,820,000. And then we have a number of line items under that for activities. $1.7 million, for example, caters for the introduction of a small business directory. 493,000 caters for an increase in monitoring and evaluation visits for community projects, and the list goes on, travel and so on.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hadi.
Mr. Chair, can the Honorable Minister state how much of this 367 million goes directly to loans and grants?
No, this line item is recurrent. This doesn't go to loans and grants. This is a recurrent. Loans and grants is on the capital.
So the 367 is just the recurrent for wages, salaries, and the overheads for the department?
For the Bureau,
For the Bureau, yes.
yes.
Guyana National Bureau of Standards, right?
No. This is a
No,
small
this is a
business
Small
bureau.
Business Bureau.
Yes.
This includes training. There's a, if you want, I can go.
No, it's okay. I understand. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 23, Agency 23, Program 232, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Let's turn back to page 523. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 23, Program 523 Capital stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like us to look at the 440-4200, the Small Business Development Fund, which I believe relates to the Development Bank, which I can see in the volume 3. So can the Honorable Minister state whether legislation will be required before this actual bank is operationalized?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, for time immemorial, small and medium-sized enterprises have complained about one major challenge, and that is access to finance. It is something that the Small Business Bureau, over the years of its existence, has helped significantly to address. And the Small Business Bureau has done incredible work over the years, giving small grants, evolving from small grants to community projects, and also the loan guarantee program that guarantees up to $30 million in loans to small and medium-sized enterprises. And we've had tremendous success through the Bureau in helping to finance small and medium-sized enterprises, in training and in equipping our young and new entrepreneurs for success in agro-processing, manufacturing, and all types of businesses that have started with the help of the Small Business Bureau. More recently, we have operationalized the collateral registry, which helped to address also this issue of access to finance by helping those small businesses to use movable assets to secure financing. And then in our manifesto in 2025, we promised to introduce a small SME development bank. This budget caters for the initial $100 million US. The pledge is $200 million. That is the initial seed capital. This year, we have the first $100 million being disbursed, or catered for, I should say, in this budget, to start that work. It will be a legal entity, so a legal entity will be established to administer this fund. I believe the Attorney General's chamber is working on that piece of legislation. And of course, once this is financed, of course, there'll be a board and so on that will consider the proposals. And the idea is to ensure that our small and medium-sized businesses have access to collateral-free, interest-free loans of up to $3 million, with the possibility for an additional $7 million financing from a banking institution at preferential rates. Interesting to note and important to note is that the bank will not only be lending this collateral-free, interest-free loan, but will also be helping our entrepreneurs to draft their proposals. There will be a training, a component, an upskilling component, so that we can help them to access that $3 million, potentially access the additional $7 million, but more importantly, to ensure that their business grows and that they can move beyond the dream of just having a small business.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on your previous, to the chair, based on what you said previously, the Business Development Fund will be on a new trajectory dealing with community projects. And I'm guessing the bank will be looking at the small businesses to get funding for their businesses. Can the Honorable Minister say what timeline persons who are in small businesses and want to approach this development bank, what timeline are we looking at as to when they can start approaching the bank?
Honorable Minister.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to put a timeline on that. I don't want to hold the Attorney General to to a timeline, but the the bill has been drafted, and this initial amount will have to be expended before the end of this year, according to our work plan. So we can expect operationalization at the earliest opportunity.
Thank you. So based on the fact that we understand that it takes some time and you cannot give us a timeline. So if businesses right now want to get some funding, can they still go to the Business Development Fund even though you're sort of moving away to community projects while we await the actual establishment of the bank? Or how do small businesses who want to approach the Small Business Bureau deal with what the transitional phase that you're currently in?
Yeah, so it's two separate things. So the SBB, nothing has changed really from the Small Business Bureau. They still offer all of the services that they have been offering. The Development Bank is just an addition now that's coming under this program. But all of the services, including access to capital for the community projects, as well as the loan guarantee program, all of those programs through the Small Business Bureau are still available to members of the public or anybody seeking to consult for training, advice, or seeking a loan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the question then is, we understood the purpose of the fund, but now there is a development bank coming on stream. And the question I'm trying to ask is what position, what measures are so that were in place that helped you to recognize that a development bank is what is required, even if the fund, for example, last year only 74 persons approached it, even though you know there are a lot of small businesses in the entire country, but only 74 persons were able to access it. So how would they now be able to get access to the bank in a way that they weren't able to access the fund? I hope you understand what I'm trying to ask you.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, and this is why, you know, I took just a couple of minutes when I started to speak about the bank, to speak about this challenge that our private sector has faced for a long time, access to financing. And especially for small and medium-sized enterprises with entrepreneurs who do not have access to collateral, have access to a piece of land or a vehicle, and have a dream of owning their own business. And so while the Small Business Bureau has done fantastic work during the years of its existence, we took several steps, including operationalizing the collateral registry. Minister Onej signed the Security Interest in Movable Property Act, which helped to address the issue of access to finance by using movable property. So people can use now their contracts, they can use produce, they can use their vehicles or any other movable asset that the bank is willing to accept to access finance. And so we wanted to go even a step further, to move beyond just giving a small grant which keeps people in a certain bracket and give them a little more freedom. And so we thought that one of the best ways to do this is for the bank to lead this initiative, for the government to lead this initiative by establishing this SME Development Bank giving people not 200,000 or 500,000, but $3 million, collateral-free, interest-free, and then help them to enhance their proposals and their business plans so that they can approach a financial institution with the possibility of accessing $7 million more. So with the possibility of having $10 million, which can really catapult somebody's business and help them to move from maybe a small business to a medium-sized business, or that gives them a real shot at success. And also ensuring that even the bank too, that we have adequate monitoring and evaluation so that we help keep them on track to ensure the sustainability and the success of their business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This might be my, my final question on this. Can the Honourable Minister say what safeguards will be put to ensure that there will be no discrimination when persons approach the Development Bank?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, this will be, as I said, a legal entity. There is a draft legislation that will govern the administration of this fund, a board. This is a government that does not discriminate against anyone, that you can look at all of our programs and policies, whether it be cash grant program, whether it be the healthcare program, whether it be in our education sector, whether it be in our Amerindian communities, our presidential grant, all these different grants across the entire spectrum of the government is geared towards equity and equality in ensuring that every single Guyanese has equal access. And so while all of these other programs, fantastic programs in all of the other sectors, we want to help people to own their own business too. And that's what, that is a major part of what we do at the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. We want to help our entrepreneurs, our young people, those who are aspiring to own their own business. We want to make sure that we create the opportunities to give them a real shot at having their own business and having a sustainable business. And the only way we can have sustainable businesses in Guyana is if we have a sustainable economy. And that is why we continue to invest in our economy, invest in our country, in infrastructure, in our education system, our healthcare system, in housing and water. And by the way, 53,000 people over the last 5 years got access to land, which means they have access to collateral, collateral that they can use to access loans, not only from the government, but from private institutions.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I am at 9:47.
This is my last question on this.
Let's give the Honorable Campbell an opportunity to ask one question.
Okay, I will give him an
That's
opportunity.
only one question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of time, let me first say at the outset that I support the bank. I support the launch of a development bank. But bearing in mind the history of these types of financial institutions in Guyana and elsewhere, just a two-part question. One, what will be the oversight mechanism? Is it the is the bank going to fall under the Bank of Guyana in terms of supervision? And second, what mechanisms will be in place to prevent political interference into loans? And by this, I don't mean discrimination. I mean by somebody seeing you calling the bank manager and say, listen, John or Jane has to get a loan. So two issues, political interference and oversight. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, that's a very subjective question, um, loaded with insinuation. But I'll say that the first question will be addressed when the legislation is completed. I don't want to speak out of turn. The legislation has been drafted. It will come to this House for debate and subsequent passage, and all of the honorable members who wish to contribute to that bill and who have um, questions or concerns, we will have the appropriate forum here in the National Assembly for you to raise that.
Thank
In
you,
real, sorry, Mr. Chair, in relation to his second question, the history of the People's Progressive Party's civic speaks for itself. And that is that we ensure that there is equal opportunity for every single Guyanese in all 10 regions. This has been a government that has been transitioning, Mr. Chair, to e-governance. E-governance, so that we can ensure that all of government services, or as far as possible, is electronic, so that there are safeguards against the very things that Honorable Campbell is raising, the single window application system through the Central Housing and Planning Authority, the single window through the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. We have an entire ministry now also for implementation, and Minister Zulfi Ali, who is leading the e-governance platform, and all of these platforms where we can address this issue of subjectivity and bias and ensure that all of government services are not only safeguarded against subjectivity, but also against any consolidation of power where one individual or one authority has concentrated power to stop any development or not to issue a grant to somebody or a permit to someone. So putting all of these things online and making it electronic addresses substantially this issue of any inherent bias or discrimination in the system. And we have been transitioning all of our services electronically. One by one, we've been tackling this.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, we have now exhausted the time for this agency, and I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 23, Program 232 Capital, Programs 233 Current and Capital, Program 234 Current and Capital, that the sums stated in all 5 of these programs stand part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stand part of the estimates. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and all of your agencies' staff for taking us through the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce. Let us invite the Honorable Minister of Natural Resources, the Honorable Vikram Bharat, and his staff to join us as we take the next agency, Agency 26, Ministry of Natural Resources. As the staff get in place, let us turn to pages 164 and 165. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 261, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 261, current, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 525. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 261 Capital, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 261 Capital, now stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, let us turn to pages 166 and 167. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 261, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Sorry, 262, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 262, current, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member, Mr. Q. Sharma Solomon.
just on the matter of 611, there's an increase of the staffing from 27 to 31. Just to ask the honorable minister if he can say the designation and the remuneration of the increase of the staff.
Thank
Honorable
you,
Minister.
Mr. Chair, and let me thank the honorable member for the question. The three wardens, Mr. Chair, and one forestry engineer. I'm not sure if the honorable member need the remuneration as well, but the wardens are paid $244,804, and the one forestry engineer $270,460.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just turn your attention to volume 2. Can the honorable ministers say what are the 4 natural resources policy that is expected to be drafted for 2026?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the policies plan for 2025 focus on the development and review of priority sector policies and regulatory instruments to strengthen governance and compliance across the natural resources sector. The expanded 2026 target reflects the phased adoption of additional precious metals and gemstone standards required to close regulatory gaps, enhance quality assurance, and align national systems with international best practices. As you're aware, Mr. Chair, we have been working on a standard especially for jewelry, gold, and very soon we'll be launching that program to have our gold, Guyana Gold, branded, and a brand that will be known worldwide, which obviously we are trying to attract investment into that sector as well as to attract tourists and to make it somewhat of a tourist package in Guyana. So this will basically enhance that aspect of what we're trying to do in the natural resources sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable member, Mr. Q. Solomon.
Just to the minister, the matter of the board and its establishment, Region 10 being one of the principal extractive zone, Is there any provision for an office for the board to be in Region 10?
Mr. Chair, I'm thinking that the honorable member is referring to the Guyana Gold Board. Is that so?
Yes.
Right, so, Mr. Chair, presently we have Gold Board, well, in Georgetown, of course, the main offices. We have one in Marudi, one at Bartica, one at Port Kaituma, one at Madhya, and only a few days ago, we would have opened another office at Puruni. So, as it is now, there is no short-term plan for an established office in Region 10 of the Guyana Gold Board. But what we are considering right now at the Guyana Gold Board is to start doing mobile purchases. And we have already identified some areas of which Region 10 is part of, along with Papisho, Tamaki, Isano, 14 miles. Those are the areas that are targeted for mobile purchases. But it is no short-term plan for a fixed office um, in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Mahipal, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in terms of the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, sir, in terms of employment cost that is here to the tune of 4,808,480,000. May I ask the Honorable Minister if this sum caters for all the geological engineers and mines officers and everybody who have to monitor activities that happen in the mining sector, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, and if it is sufficient in terms of your complement, the actual staff complement to oversee the mining activity, the exploration, the all the activities relating to the mining sector.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I think the honorable member is fully aware that there is no budgetary allocation in budget 2026 for what he's referring to. But the simple answer to the question is yes, it is adequate.
Sir, respectfully, Geology and Mines has 10 for recurrent expenditure, 10,687,940,000, and it is under Appendix T, Program 262, Natural Resources Management, and the question is under that line. If I may move for a similar with the Guyana Gold Board, Agency 26, Natural Resources. Guyana Gold Board is a statutory body, and there is an materials, equipment, and supplies line that carries a sum of 146 million, 900, 146, I see right? 146 billion, 908,741,000. May I ask the Honorable Minister, what are the materials, equipment, and supplies under this line, and where specifically will they be?
Honorable member, just which line item are we on the current?
Sir, materials, equipment, and supplies,
Mr. Chair, if
at
these are
Appendix
not
T.
budget agencies, I think last year we had the same issue with
Yes.
a few of the MPs.
Sir, but I think if my memory serves me correctly, you did provide guidance that because it's an agency on in the budget book as Guyana Gold Board under Appendix T, and you said that because it's expenditure from money that was revenue, that they generate their own revenue, but at the end of the day, they're administered by the state and government. You had guided us that we can ask questions if my memory serves me right.
We were asked some question on policy. But normally, if a subvention is given under, I think it's 6231 to any one of these, then we're going to be voting on that provision. But I don't see any provision on the current here that goes to Guyana Gold Board or GGMC. I don't want to answer for the minister, but I know he's going to prefer an answer. So we're being asked now to vote on zero,
Okay.
right? So.
Can I have a policy question?
Honorable
Sir,
Minister
so
of
we can take
Finance, am I
policy.
on the right track? You'll be voting on zero if I put something like that.
Sir, we could ask policy questions on it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You're absolutely correct, sir, that there is in fact no appropriation being sought. And you and indeed the Honorable Minister are both absolutely correct, that no appropriation is being sought for these two entities, that is to say the Guyana Gold Board and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. Because they are statutory bodies, their budgets are included in the budget estimates in Appendix D for information only, but an appropriation is not being sought for them.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, sir.
Honorable Minister Vikram Bharat, I think you're going to give us the same answers last year, so please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, as I mentioned, last year we had the same issue. I think it was Honorable Ramjitan, and I can't remember the other MP, I think MP Ramswarup, that attempted to ask the same question, but there are no allocation in budget 2026 for those agencies, as the Honorable Minister Ashley Singh would have mentioned. They're statutory agencies.
Thank you.
Can-
Honorable Member, Ms. Finance.
Thank you, sir. I just want to ask a policy question, if I may, with your leave, sir, for the Guyana Gold Board. May I?
Yes, you may, but
Nothing contentious.
I'm just granting this. Ask and we'll ask the minister to respond if he so wishes.
Thank you,
If
sir.
not, you could always bring a question.
Guided, sir. Thank you, sir. Could the honorable minister say if, and I just want to just give a little bit of context. The gold board, usually when persons go and you sell your gold to the gold board, there's a specific cap at which the gold board gives, is allowed to pay out in cash, and the rest goes by check. I want to know if there's any consideration for that sum to be increased for 2026, given that there have been some challenges, particularly in more outlying regions, for example, Region 7, in which the cap it's finding some difficulties, and the banks are not usually prepared to cash the checks that go along with that amount.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, indeed, in the past, it was an issue with regards to small miners always wanting to have cash in hand rather than check or electronic transfer into their accounts. However, recently, as in a few months back, we would have increased the cash payment by the Guyana Gold Board to $6 million, from $1.5 million to $6 million. So presently, the cash payment is $6 million. The remaining amount, if the purchase is more than $6 million, is paid either through electronic transfer directly into the individual bank account or by way of a check. But to add, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to monitor the price of gold. As we know, the price of gold today is over $5,000 per ounce. So our consideration will be dependent on the price and how high the price actually gets within a short period of time to reconsider the cash payment for the Guyana Gold Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I know.
Mr. Chairman, with your leave.
Honorable member, Mr.
Sir,
Mahika.
it may have slipped me, 6284. We are on program 262, if I'm guided right, the current. 6284. So I see the sum of 1,045,000,000 there. Would the Honorable Minister be kind enough to tell us what this sum would cater for on the other?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. Mr. Chair, the sum allocated, and I can actually give a breakdown of how it will be spent. There's an allocation of $425 million for reclamation reforestation project. And Mr. Chair, you would recall that this is the third such allocation in the national budget for this reclamation reforestation project. This is in keeping with our low carbon development strategy, the commitment made in our low carbon development strategy. We have already did significant reclamation, reforestation in Region 8, Region 1, and Region 10. We wish to extend this to other regions as well, and we are targeting some other areas in Region 10, mostly the mine-out areas in the bauxite belt. It is also to support the maintenance of the nursery, the seedling nursery that we have at Yarracabra, Linden, and Madia. Approximately 200 acres of land will be maintained and reclaimed in 2026. So a portion of this money, Mr. Speaker, will go towards that project. This project will employ at least 200 persons during the initial phase, and then a small amount during the maintenance phase. Mr. Speaker, a significant portion of this amount, also $607 million, will be spent on forest conservation area. And we have made a commitment as a country to expand our protected areas. Mr. Chair, presently, we have about 8.4% of our land mass under protection. That's the 5 protected areas. Line item. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Just, just under the
Honorable.
same line 6284, the minister mentioned reclamation in different communities, including Region 10. Can the minister say where these reclamations were in Region 10 and how much land so far in Region 10 have been reclaimed? Outside of the reclamation, the forestry approach to reforesting some of these mined out areas, I know the Cara has been identified, but is there any other area identified outside of the GPL arrangement with forestry for that reforesting of those mined out areas?
Thank you,
Honorable
Mr. Chair.
Minister,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the honorable member, the Cora and the Wisma Shore.
Yes.
That is an area that we have already did significant amount of reclamation, reforestation. And I'll be happy whenever I'm in Linden that we can actually take a tour of that area so you can see the amount of work that was done there in that area. The other areas going to Aichuni, Kokwani areas, that is already, or the old mines as we commonly refer to it as, those are the areas that we're looking to target the pilot project that we're going to start with bamboo cultivation, because bamboo cultivation can bring significant benefits to the sector as well as replace the greenery. Bamboo is high in carbon emission as well too. It is probably one of the fastest growing grass, and it brings significant opportunities for those communities in Region 10, especially with adding value or with the value added products. So that's a pilot project that we are embarking on in the Region 10 area. And we target the Region 10 area mostly because they have large land that are already mined out. by the bauxite operations there. And there will be no further mining in those areas. So that's why the Region 10 area is a target area for these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Print and non-print materials, the sum there is 1,920,000. So in terms of processing, in terms of printing letters of approval and the likes, for a miner who may have an interest in securing a land to mine on, a small miner, in terms of their application, their processing, and the printing and so on, from this line, how does that process go about in terms of a small miner wants to apply for a piece of land to go and mine on gold, diamond, whatever natural resource, and your ministry processing it in terms of its application, permission, communication with the mine, and so on.
Mr. Chair, you'd recognize that the line item has nothing to do with the question, but I have no issue shedding some light since I'm sure the viewing public will want to know. But if I may answer the question on the line item first, before I share some additional information, which we have no issue to share. The line item caters directly for the Aranca and the Bartica Warden Station. Because this program really, there's the compliance unit at the Ministry of Natural Resources. So this program basically supports the work of that unit. So we have officers stationed at Aranca as well as in Bartica, and this unit will assist the GGMC officers in their monitoring enforcement exercise. So the allocation is directly for those two stations. But to the honorable member seeking clarification on the process of applying for mining properties. And as you are aware, and as I think the country is aware, we have been on a serious enforcement compliance campaign over the last few months, which have yielded significant results for us. However, we understand the situation where small miners need land, more land to work. Mind you, some of them were awarded land, some of them still decide or prefer to work land owned by other miners, which they deem to be mineral rich, while some of them would have probably sold the rights to mine on their land to others, including some non-nationals, because that's a reality. And I want to say too clearly, Mr. Chair, that small and medium scale mining is specifically reserved for Guyanese. So you would not find a non-Guyanese owning or having permits, sorry, to mine at a small and medium scale level. However, you will see a lot of non-nationals mining at a small and medium scale level, but I can assure you they're doing so in partnership with a Guyanese landowner or permit holder. Some of them were naturalized, so maybe they would have benefited from that. But the process is that the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission accepts application. They process that application. There's also other methods like lotteries, which we are going to have another 2 to 3 months in specific mining regions like Region 1, 7, 8. And we are also going to have similar developments to the Isano 14 miles development. Mr. Chair, when Troy Resources closed their operation, we set aside an area with 100 small allocations specifically for small miners. That has worked well because today we have almost 100 Guyanese miners in the Isano 14-mile area. I was there recently and I met with almost all the miners. and they're doing fairly well in that area. I know we had some issues in terms of security. I can assure you that the security forces are aggressively working towards addressing that situation. So we're going to have those model developments in Region 1, that's the Matakai sub-district, which is primarily a mining sub-district, as Matthews Ridge, Port Kaituma, Arcaca area. So we're going to have a similar operation development there. We're going to do another one in Region 7, even though Isano 40 Mile is in Region 7, and then another one in Region 8, thereby benefiting 75 small miners each. That would give us a total of 225 uh, Guyanese small miners who will benefit from those allocation of 50 acres each, with the option that when they mine out their allocation or there is no sign of mineralization, then they can relinquish that portion of property and then apply for another one. And they will be given some amount of preference since they had one already. What is important to note to Mr. Chair, and I think is important that all of us are aware of what the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, Ministry of Natural Resources have been doing for the last 2 years. And we had budgetary allocation last year, as a matter of fact, for the mineral processing project. Now, the mineral processing project, Mr. Chair, the last time we updated our mineral inventory in this country, I think 1968. I think that was the last time. So if a small miner goes to GGMC and requests data, yes, they will get the data on their land, claim, or block, but that data is old data. We have had this project ongoing, done by a company out of California, Global Venture Inc., is public information. They had the two aircrafts in Guyana late last year. They did a flyover over the mining districts, capturing the information. We are in the process of analyzing that data now and to update our mineral inventory in Guyana, thereby having a greater sense of where minerals are, not only in terms of gold, but manganese, bauxite, critical minerals, rare earths, and that will put us in a better position in terms of land allocation. So simply put, it means that the three areas that we're going to establish, they will be areas that show greater sign of mineralization, thereby assisting the small miners or relieving them of the expense to go and do prospecting. That's one. Two, to contribute to deforestation and a greater chance of finding the mineral that they're mining for. So that project is coming to completion, and we'll be in a better position as a country to say it confidently that we have updated our mineral inventory, and these are areas with greater sign of mineralization. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, Ms. Halley.
Just one question. When you look at the volume 2, Honorable Minister, I'm seeing here number of pilot studies completed. And I was wondering whether the minister could say if there have been any recent pilot studies on non-mercury alternatives, and if you've been able to get any of the big gold miners to comply. How is that going?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Comrade Chair, and let me thank the honorable member for the question because it's very important. Since Guyana is a signatory to the Minamata Convention, that is the minimizing the use of mercury with the possible eradication of it. Now, we have always been in search of an alternative that is affordable and acceptable, especially by small miners, because there is no large operation in Guyana that uses mercury. The one producing large-scale company, they use no mercury. The others that will come on board soon, the Oko West projects, which two, Torparo and all the other projects, the OMI project, they will not be using mercury. Most of the medium scale operations that we are licensing now, there's a no mercury policy in it, mainly because there are alternatives. The alternatives, however, is a bit expensive than the current method. That is why we've been trying to get our small miners especially to either come together in a group, form consortium, and that's why we are adopting this, as we call it, a Troy-like model, where you can put 100 small miners in one small area. They can invest in the technology that is mercury-free, and not only mercury-free, but it will increase their recovery rate significantly, because recovery rate by small miners in Guyana today is very low. It's about 35, 40%. That's where you recover every time you wash down, as the miners would say. So basically, you wash away 60% of the gold into the tailings pond or settling pond, or if you discharge directly, which is illegal, by the way, into the creek, which some people do, and we have to clamp down on that from time to time. So the new technology that is available will increase the recovery rate possibly to 70%, because there are a few medium scale operations in Guyana right now that is mercury free, and their recovery rate is almost 70, 75%. So that's is a very good question, and I want to assure you that as a country we have a responsibility to minimize the use of mercury, mainly because of the danger it possesses to not only the environment, but to the miners themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Mr.
Honourable
Chair, I
Member
Just,
Q's Solomon.
just on the follow-up, Minister, on the small miners, I know that yourself and the President over the past months have been engaging small miners on issues of regulations and violations within the sector. How do you see those efforts affecting the declaration set out? And if so, what amount of the declaration set would usually come in from small miners?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From the onset, let me say that the operation ongoing right now is not to displace small miners. I just want to say that from the onset. It is not targeting small miners, it is not meant to displace small miners from the subsector. It is to bring greater compliance, ensure that their legal operations and production matches declaration. For a long time, we've been battling with that to have declaration and production matching. And you don't have production at X amount and declaration at Y amount. We have seen significant success over the last few months, I can tell you that, because now many small, and the small miners will tell you, because you mentioned we have been engaging the small miners a lot recently. Even His Excellency went to Peruni and Bartica, and they understand fully, and they want to be in compliance with the mining regulations and the law. But as I mentioned earlier, that the one issue that they would have highlighted is the land, and that is why we are working on those developments which I would have highlighted. But they're willing to comply, they're willing to work with GGMC, Ministry of Natural Resources. As a matter of fact, we have had a record declaration in the month of December. And as you're aware, in December, you would normally only have mining operation for about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks max, mainly because miners will close off the operation for the holidays, send home the workers to be with their families because most of them have been away for a long time. So in December, you would have the lowest declaration of all the months, January and December, because miners go back late into mining in January after they celebrate during the festive season, and in December they close off early. However, last December, because of the operation that were being conducted, we had a declaration of 81,000 ounces of gold. Never happened before. Never happened before. The Guyana Gold Board, for the first time, purchased 195,000 ounces of gold. Never happened before. Mainly because we have these offices placed at strategic locations, and we have increased the cash payments to for small miners. The other part of the question,
How
oh,
much would
small
it?
miners declaration.
Yes.
And I'm happy to report too that the small, leaving out the large scale companies, The declaration by the small and medium scale as the Guyanese operation would have been 317,000 ounces for the year 2025, which is quite significant. Quite significant. Thank you.
Just
Thank you,
if I,
Minister.
thank you, Comrade Chair.
Mr. Cuse.
I know the minister talked about the Troy model, and I was wondering for those small miners, if it was exclusive for small miners, or I know that Troy Resources had left with an outstanding for over 100 and something Guyanese workers. If they qualify for that arrangement, or if the government have made any arrangement to take care of those workers that have been outstanding by Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. Fortunately, I would say fortunately, and I'm speaking because at the same time we had the closure of Troy, the Zijing or the Aurora Gold Mine would have expanded their operations and they would have started underground mining. So basically, Zijing employment would have moved from 700 Guyanese to today about 1,300 Guyanese working with AGM. So most of those workers, if not all of them, would have been absorbed by Aurora Gold Mine. And some from Region 10, as you're aware, there are a lot of persons from Region 10 because they have the experience through OMI and the bauxite company. They work in the gold sector. Because if you go to AGM, you would reach a lot of people from Linden who are supervisors, who are working there, senior workers. Some of them too would have gone back to Linden because both sides would have invested heavily and they would have employed over the last few years almost 200 new workers. And they too are looking for maybe another 100 workers because they're expanding their operation. So that's why I say, fortunately, we didn't have an issue because AGM expanded the operation, both sides expanded the operation, and most, if not all of those workers would have been absorbed there. However, there is nothing stopping or barring a former employee from getting a plot of land to do their own mining operation if they wishes to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put the question.
Chair,
Honorable
sorry,
member,
I-
Ms.
I just have
Amanzo Walton Dizzy.
One follow-up for Honorable Minister. In terms of our Minimata targets and the reduction of the use of mercury, particularly in the small miners, how are we faring? Are we making progress at the rate that we had set out for the reduction of the use of mercury by particularly small and medium scale miners?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. And I would say yes, that we are making significant progress. And it has a lot to do with the individuals too, because many individuals and organizations entering into the mining sector, they see the danger in using mercury and they see the advantage of using the alternative technologies or methods that are available. Because you use mercury, your recovery rate is 35%. You use the technology that is available, you get 70% at the same operational cost. So it makes absolute sense to use the technology as available. And many of us who are engaged in the sector would know that there are systems available right across the board in Brazil. Very good system that can be used and is very affordable as well. And a lot of our medium scale miners have been buying into that technology or that new method that is available to extract gold from the ore. So I would say, and as I mentioned, most of the medium scale operation now that are being licensed or permitted, sorry, they are moving away or they're encouraged to move away from mercury.
Is there a, Mr. Chair, a follow-up through you? Just
Go ahead.
final question. Is there a preferred technology that you're seeing being utilized, shaking tables, whatever it is, by the medium scale? And is there any consideration, particularly for the small miners, incentivizing the use of that technology?
The, thank you, Mr. Chair. The preference is the miners. Right, there are different methods and it's based on their investment as well too. But with gold price as it is now, maybe almost a million Guyana dollars per ounce, it makes sense to invest if it's 20 million or $25 million. But I could understand some. I see we got to differentiate too between, or well, among medium scale miners, small scale miners, and then at the bottom we'll have the pork knockers or the bagmen or the men who work the edging, right? So that's a different category. Sometimes we call them small miners, but really they are not small miners, right? Because most small miners in this country have excavators, not one, maybe two, three, right? But we are working with those micro, as you said, or the pork knockers kind of miners, to one, provide a space for them to mine, because normally they would go and punt on somebody else's land or in somebody else's tailing pond, right? That's a normal complaint. So we are working now to have a special area where they can actually go and mine without any problem, safely. Nobody would come and put them off, and hopefully to get them in a group where they can form themselves basically into a consortium. That's the only way they're going to be able to invest in the new technology that is available. So it's a work in progress. You got to keep working with them. It's not easy. All of us here know how difficult it is to manage this particular sector. And I would normally jokingly say the forestry sector is so easy to manage because you can't run away with a log on your shoulder. But a piece of gold this size is probably 100 million Guyana dollars right now. Right? It's only 100 million Guyana dollars. So it is so difficult to manage the mining sector, the work in progress. Thank you.
Honorable,
Mr.
honorable member, we have been given a good lesson in the compliance, application, definition. Uh, so we're at the line item, and perhaps what it begs is a question: if in the line item education is included, but I know that's separate to GGMC. Honorable members, let us put the question because the
Mr.
time.
Chair, I just had one single follow-up.
When you're going to get back your mind?
Once, no, no, sir. Just one single follow-up. I just want to know if, through you, sir, if there is still consideration being given for a local content policy to be developed for the mining sector.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, my apologies to you because I know we haven't been following the the, the the budgetary allocation in budget 2026. But I think it's important that we have, with your permission, this discussion too. Um, what has happened, quite honestly, is that when we design, pass, and implement the local content legislation now, it was primarily intended for the oil and gas sector. But what we have done over the years is that we have tried to get investors who are investing in other sectors to also at least be compliant or try to be compliant or in line with the local content legislation, even though it's targeting the oil and gas sector. You find that a lot of investors coming to Guyana now, even in agriculture, tourism, mining, they have been actually following the pattern, as my colleagues say, or coming in line with the local content legislation. But it is something that we are considering, whether there is need to have a dedicated local content legislation for mining or for the other sectors. But we have seen good results, to be quite honest, since we have implemented the present local content legislation across all sectors.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 26,
No, no, I think for
Program
oil and gas here, too.
262, current, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Program, page 525. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 262, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. And I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 262 Capital stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, pages 168 and 169. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Program 264 of Agency 26, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members,
Yes.
accused
Thank
Sharma.
you very much, Comrade Chair. Just like before, there is an increase of employment from for 3 additional staff. Can the minister give us the designation and the remuneration package for these additional staff?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. The 3 additional staff, Mr. Chair, 1 technical officer, $363,549. Another technical officer, however, the remuneration is $318,468. And a legal officer, $455,380. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Also to the,
Honorable Member, Mr. Sharma.
under 611, the increase, can we have a breakdown of that, Minister?
Honorable
By-
Minister.
By increase, Honorable Member, you mean the increase in wages, the wage bill?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, Honorable Chair, sorry. These 3 offices will contribute to the additional sum that is being sought now in 2026 in comparison to 2025.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley, then Mr. Campbell, and Mr. Mahipot. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Lewis.
6294, there's a big jump from 343 million to 900 million. Can the Honorable Minister state what this increase includes?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. Mr. Chair, part of this allocation goes to the Guyana National Bureau of Standards. And as I would have mentioned in my budget presentation, that we have onshore each FPSO, an officer from the Guyana Revenue Authority, the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, EPA, the Ministry of Natural Resources. So this will be part payment. This allocation, Mr. Chair, would be part payment to the Guyana National Bureau of Standards. And on 4 FPSOs presently now, we have 4 officers from GNBS. The allocation is also catering for the next FPSO, which we expect to be in Guyana in the second half of this year. That's the Erwitu, meaning abundance. That will be our 5th FPSO. So it will be payments now for 5 FPSO to GNBS. And basically, Mr. Speaker, their task on board is to ensure that the offloading of crude into the tankers are done in keeping in compliance with obviously their standards, the calibration of the metering system, monitoring of the quality of crude, both the crude produced and the crude dispensed. Those are some of their duties. This sum also caters for demurrage costs, Mr. Speaker, which we have almost, as a matter of fact, more than half of it, $500 million allocated to demurrage costs. And as you would know, Mr. Chair, there will be, or there has been, since the inception in 2029 when we started, 2020 when we started to sell crude, that there's always been a provision for demurrage. That is vessels staying longer within the Stabroek area than the time allocated to them. And there is a 36-hour lead time, as we report it, for each tanker to, to be loaded, and each tanker presently will take 1 million barrels of crude. We haven't moved to the stage where we're using the bigger, the VLCC, which take 2 million barrels. So every lift, as we refer to it, actually offload 1 million barrels of crude into the tanker. That is why so much time is allocated for a tanker to be moored alongside one of the FPSO. Estimated, it should take about 24 hours to load 1 million barrels, but there's an additional 12 hours given because of conditions that may exist offshore. In some instances, there may be difficult conditions offshore, maybe bad weather, waves, big waves, or whatever the case is, and the time prescribed for offloading may be exceeded. And once that's exceeded, then the companies obviously will claim demurrage costs. So I just wanted to explain that to, I know MPs in here are fully aware of what is demurrage cost, but we have a number of people who are looking at these sessions. So it's just for them to understand what really is the demurrage cost. And since since our operation is in the deep water, conditions offshore are not always favorable because of the depth that they're operating in and the sensitivity and the nature of the sector that we're dealing with, especially when it comes to health and safety. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, what is important to note is that the sum allocated in 2026 is actually the sum that was probably allocated in 2021, 2022, when we only had 2 FPSOs. So because of the prudent management of the sector, because we have subscribed to a number of international bodies like the tanker tracking, where we can actually track tankers as they're moving towards Guyana. And then because of the Maxar software that we have now too, where we can determine how long a tanker actually spent within the Stabroek development area. We have managed to minimize the demurrage cost significantly, and also working with the operator because they too play a major role in ensuring that there's great efficiency in offloading. So a significant portion of this allocation goes towards the demurrage costs. And to add further to Mr. Chair, the demurrage cost is a cost that it is not likely for us to predict the exact amount of demurrage that would incur in a particular year, taking into consideration that we'll have 4 FPSOs and another one coming, 5 FPSOs operating offshore Guyana. So there is possibility that through good management and good weather, fair conditions, that the actual demurrage cost can be way less than what is budgeted for. In that case, whatever remains, it goes back into the consolidated fund as we did in 2025, 2024, and I believe 2023 as well too, where we had significant savings from this account that went back into the consolidated fund. Another part of the allocation goes towards the local content secretariat. As we would have announced, consultation have already started to make amendments to the legislation and also to revise Schedule 1 of the local content legislation with the possibility of adding more services to the 40 that already exists and to revise targets for those services that are being carved out for Guyanese businesses. So, Mr. Speaker, in short, these are some of the activities that this allocation will basically satisfy in 2026.
Thank you very much, Honorable
Thank you.
Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley.
Thank you. Just for clarification, very quick. I think I heard you said 4 persons, 4 staff. if I'm accurate, is it that you're paying, is it a salary, and is it also, does it include for them payment to get them on and get them off the FPSOs? That money that is included here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just a clarification,
Go ahead.
is the Ministry of Natural Resources will not be paying the GNBS staff, but rather we are paying a lump sum amount to the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, and they will take care of their staff.
Honorable Member, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Minister, looking at line item 6111, administrative, and taking a look at the program performance statements, I see that there is an intention to establish a regulatory agency and directorate. And I was wondering, I'm suspecting that this is the Petroleum Commission, and I was wondering whether in these numbers it's being budgeted for.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The short answer to the question, Mr. Chair, is no. These are not the traditional stuff, but I understand the question of where you're getting towards. Of the Petroleum Commission, I think last year we had a very, I wouldn't say heated, but a very entertaining discussion on this topic. But as it is now, Mr. Chair, and by saying this, I am not giving myself or only the government of Guyana credit, but I'm crediting our country to say that Guyana has one of the best managed oil and gas sector in the world among new oil producing countries. And this goes as credit to Guyana and not necessarily myself as minister responsible and my team or government. But as a country, we should be proud of that. So, Mr. Speaker, we are quite comfortable that the sector is being managed competently by the team, and I want to thank the team that we have at the Ministry of Natural Resources, small, young, bright team that has been doing a wonderful job thus far. Having said that, I am not going to rule out the possibilities that lie ahead in terms of strengthening the management of the sector. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Minister.
Speaker, just one follow-up.
Go ahead, Honorable Member, Mr. Campbell.
The Honorable Minister is very charismatic, and
As always.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I'd like to remind the Honorable Minister that the last bid round started in 2022, and in 2025 is when we finally got 2 awards completed. So I know the Honorable Minister must be very busy, so I'd just like to counter that maybe, just maybe, and since it's included in the strategies, that such a commission might be able to help even with the bid rounds and faster processing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, drawing reference to the bid round again, I don't think it really ties into what the honorable member is trying to ask. But let me just say for clarification that yes, the bid round was held in 2022, and we have signed 2 agreements last year, bringing in $32 million US signing bonus for 2 blocks put together, the size of almost or less than 4,000 square kilometers in comparison to the Stabber block, which is over 26,000 square kilometers. Just to put things into perspective, so that the viewing public understands. And it's not deep blocks by shallow water. And I'm not going to proffer an excuse, honorable member, as to why the agreements took so long, but I'm going to put forward a few reasons why, because it's important too. And one of those reasons is that we always wanted, when we campaigned as a political party in 2020, we said that we're going to have better production sharing agreement with a better fiscal regime for the country. And we're going to have a model PSA. Now, we had to basically draft 2 model PSAs. We only had the Stabroek PSA. but we know the challenges and the issues that we had or have with that. So we drafted two model PSA, one for the blocks in the deep water and one for the blocks in the shallow water, which obviously carry different conditions. And we also wanted a standard PSA for all the companies that are signing on. We didn't want a PSA for Total, one for Cybil, one for Cispro, one for Qatar. We wanted a model PSA that all companies coming into Guyana to do exploration activities would agree to and sign. And as you would imagine, that took some time and back and forth and negotiation. However, the fiscal regime, as we would have mentioned, was non-negotiable. So now that we have that standard PSA, it will be much easier now to finalize agreements with future companies that are interested in doing exploration in Guyana. And that is why we would have concluded those two quickly. And we are still in the process of concluding another two, hopefully shortly. The other issue to honorable member, Mr. Chair, is that we did a bid wrong and we took that decision to do the bid wrong with limited data. We only had the 2D data that was available. And as you would know, honorable member, that for companies to actually bid on blocks, because it's such a capital intensive sector, you really need to be sure as to whether there are signs of hydrocarbon and that the data look positive for companies to actually submit bids. Nevertheless, we still attracted 14 companies that would have submitted bids for that bid round with the limited data available, with the 2D data. That's why this year, and I think this project would have started already, where we are going to do our own multi-client 3D seismic survey. That project is ongoing. I think it started recently, was passed last year. So once we have that data, and that's being done, mind you, without costing the country any money, that is being done by some of the best seismic companies around the world. We already have one of the seismic boat offshore that is doing some work for Exxon, and we'll go into the shallow areas to continue that seismic survey. So we're doing this because when a decision is made to do a second bid round, then we will have that data that will be available in our own data repository that will be in country. Because presently, maybe you're aware that our data are not held in country, mainly because we don't have the infrastructure to do so presently. But we are bringing that data home, if I may say so, and the data that will be accumulated or acquired from the 3D seismic survey now will be housed in our own data repository, where a fee would be paid by companies wanting to bid for blocks offshore Guyana and thereby earning a revenue as well too, and making data that are relevant, updated, available, and which obviously will be more attractive to prospective bidders in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Thank
I have
you,
a follow-up,
Minister.
sir. May I have a follow-up, Mr. Chair?
Well, I had Mr. Mahi Paul waiting, and then I have Dr. Lewis. Right, so let me take them in that order.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm going back to 6294 on the demurrage charges. And I did hear the Honorable Minister saying that there are 4 staff offshore to do verification, I'm guessing, on whether the time is utilized and it requires the charges to be paid, the demurrage charges. Um, the 4 officers are all from GNBS, or is it one from GNBS, one from your ministry, and one from GRE? I didn't hear where the 4 are coming from.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just for clarification, the reason why 4 is being used is because we have 4 FPSOs offshore now. So on each FPSO, you will have an officer from GNBS, EPA, GRA, Ministry of Natural Resources on each FPSO. So when Erwitu, the other FPSO, arrives in Guyana, then we'll have a 5th staff on that FPSO.
Each.
Each, correct. Yes, each.
So if I may ask, Mr. Chairman, it is those staff members who would have to verify with the ministry's permanent secretary, who's the custodian of this 900 million, for the payment to be made. How does that work in terms of the verification and authenticity for the permanent secretary to release whatever sum of money he's the guardian of to ensure accountability and transparency?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So no, Mr. Chair, these officers are there. GNBS, for example, is mostly for offloading because we want to ensure that we monitor offloading. We are monitoring production. We know how much crude can fit in one of those tankers because it has a capacity. You can't produce 3 million barrels of oil if you have capacity for 2 million barrels if you didn't offload. So that is easy to monitor, regardless of the negatives that we see sometimes in the media and comments that are being made. Because if you have an FPSO with a tank that can hold only 2 million barrels of oil, then you can only produce 2 million. And if you offload 1 million, then we know that you have space for another million. So it is so easy, and we have a dashboard actually to monitor production. So production is easy to monitor because of the capacity of the FPSOs. They can't put the hydrocarbon anywhere else other than in the FPSO. And we know when tankers would approach the FPSOs to offload, for offloading. Besides from the 4 staff that are there on each FPSO, GNBS, Ministry of Natural Resources, EPA, GRA. And they cannot offload crude into a tanker without these officers on shore, even though they're full-time there. If GRA is not present at the pump, Exxon, who's the operator, and SBM, they cannot, based on the crude lifting agreement, they cannot offload crude into a tanker. Especially GNBS and especially GRA must be present because one deals with the metering and the other one obviously GRA is tax and everything and monitor production. So that they do that monitoring. In terms of the demurrage, it is easy to monitor demurrage. One, we have what we call a third party inspector. Now we pay a few companies, international companies that are competent, that are qualified, that are experienced to monitor these offloading from a different perspective. So they would now would determine, or basically we can determine how long, or we will know how long a tanker is moored next to one of the FPSO. Because we have a software that we call Maxar, that is housed at the EPA, that we can see our entire maritime space. From the time a boat or a ship enter into Guyana zone, we can track it. We can see the name of that vessel, where it is registered, everything. We have that capability in Guyana right now. So we can know when that tanker arrives. And because we are subscribing to the tanker tracker, right? There's a tanker tracker software that we have with feedback system. We can track the tanker all the way from Singapore or all the way from Saudi Arabia or wherever it is, coming to Guyana. So we know when it arrives next to the FPSO, and we will know when it leaves as well from the FPSO. We will know how long it takes to offload. So it is very easy. So we, as government, we can actually determine at any given time how many tankers are there, how long this tanker been there. Besides from that, we have our third-party inspectors there, and they represent our interests. The demurrage is, as I mentioned, 36 hours. Once it passed 36 hours, the tankers would claim demurrage. That is determined. We only pay 12.5%.
Oh.
Right? That is determined now between the two companies, the agreement between the two companies. That is the company that is off-taking our crude and the tanker company. They would have agreed on that. But we only pay 12.5%.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman. Chair, may I ask the Honorable Minister for this 203,900,000 that I see in the other line item that is labeled other, 6284, to disaggregate for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I've mentioned a few times, and even just now, I mentioned our subscription to the London tankers. That's the correct name I was trying to get. I, so we pay subscription to a number of these bodies and organizations like S&P Platts. We've been paying them subscription ever since we started to produce crude, because that is how we determine our pricing. We get a good price for our crude. Platts, the London tanker, and a few other bodies that we subscribe to. So part of this would go towards the subscription cost, $75 million, the advertisement, $10 million, and we have an allocation of $118.9 million for the review of the FDP. We are preparing that there will be the possibility of another FDP or the eighth project by Exxon being submitted to us. They have indicated that already. I think it's public information that the long tail project, I think they would have advertised to do the countrywide environmental consultation that they would normally do in preparation of the FDP, the field development plan. Um, and once they submit that FDP to us, then we have a consultant, international consultant, to review that FDP with the view of approving and signing a production license. That's the process. That's how we would have signed Payara, Whiptail, and Airwit, Waru, and all the license that we have already signed, the production license that is. So it requires a specialist company, consultancy company. Normally, we would have worked in the past with a company called Bayface out of the UK. They have worked with us on a number of these developments. They're quite competent. So this allocation is basically catering for the eventuality of Exxon submitting the eighth project, the FDP for the eighth project, which is the long tail project, as they call it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I ask the Honourable Minister if the London Tanker is an international organization that we pay this subscription to?
This is the subscription, and I would have mentioned that we can track tankers from wherever they are, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, all the way to Guyana and out of Guyana waters. This helps us now to reduce our demurrage costs, because once we can know where the tankers are and not basing a decision on what others are telling us, but rather we can actually see where the tankers are. Because we're paying this subscription, we have the software, we can actually see these live movements of tankers. So that is what is will be
Yeah, but
contributing
is it,
towards.
Mr. Chairman, an international organization
And
that
an
we are,
international, not a local, international organization.
that we're subscribing to?
Yes.
So this may be more of an administrative question, Mr. Chairman. Why is the sum under 6284 other and not 6322, which caters for subsidies and contribution to international organization?
Right. I think you got the answer. It's a service.
No,
It's a
I'm
service
not
being
hearing
provided.
them.
It's a service provided. The other one basically is contribution to organizations. For example, I don't think the allocation is here, but if it's a subscription like EITI,
Mhm.
we pay a yearly
Dr. Lewis.
subscription. That would
Okay.
be.
Dr.
And
Lewis.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Lewis?
I already move ahead. Dr. Lewis?
Chair, my questions have already been answered. Thank you.
Just,
Mr. Manzo?
Miss,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had two follow-ups for the Honorable Minister. He spoke about his team. I wonder whether, Minister, you could tell us the staff and complement of your team. How many members comprise your team that you referred to when you were answering um, the question posed by Honorable Campbell?
I, I thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the honorable member is referring to the team, the petroleum team, because
Yes.
I didn't make reference to that.
Yes.
The size of our team is 38 staff members, Mr. Chair. And I just want to add that in other countries, and if I may give an example, there's no way criticizing any other country, but just to draw a comparison. Why I say it's really a small team, but they've been doing a lot over the last few years. And if we take Ghana, for example, Ghana is a very good friend to us. They would have helped us a lot. Some people know that they would have actually helped us with the local content bill and the gas development. So we have a very good relationship with Ghana. That's why I know of their system. The Ministry of Energy in Ghana, for example, there are four ministers, one Minister of Energy and three Deputy Minister of Energy. They have about, I would say, over 1,000 staff in the petroleum. Well, they have a dedicated ministry, over 1,000 staff. And their daily oil production is less than 200,000 barrels per day. We're producing over 900,000 barrels per day. And we only have 38 staff members, committed, dedicated, young, bright people. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one more follow-up on the Maxar software that you said is monitored by EPA. This, I understand you're using it in the context of monitoring the tankers that operate specifically for the offshore purposes. But I know that this software is able to monitor any tanker, as you've said. Is there any consideration given to, or is there any interagency cooperation that's happening right now with, for example, MARAD? Because we're seeing an increase in false flag operations. And I know that, well, are you using Maritime Sentry? I don't know if that's the Maxar software that you're using, but they're able to tell you the flag of the vessel and all of these things. So I'm wondering, do you have that interagency cooperation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and that's a very good question by the honorable member. And yes, the direct answer is yes. There is collaboration, obviously, because it has helped to basically assist the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, in collaboration with MARAD, to almost eliminate illegal fishing in Guyana waters because of this software. We have been tracking not only oil vessel, but we can track any vessel in Guyana maritime space. That's um, that's one of the main feature of that software. So there are interagency collaboration and cooperation, including the security services. But I'm not at liberty to go forward on that. You would understand. And the other thing I want to mention, Mr. Chair, on this software is now not only can it monitor vessels. I don't specify tankers, but vessels generally coming into Guyana waters, but it can detect at an early stage if there's an oil spill or not. And I can give you an example about, I think it was about 2 years ago. The software, we detected something, a substance floating offshore Guyana, close to the starboard block. An alarm was raised. We sent out the teams, we deployed CDC and everybody else. And I think it was a false alarm, basically. It was seaweed, but it looked very similar on the surface, right? And you don't expect seaweed to be that deep, that's 5,000 deep offshore Guyana. But it has that capability. I just wanted to mention that if there's an oil spill, it can quickly detect that, quantify it and everything, and alert us almost in real time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Q. Solomon.
Mr. Chair, thanks very much. I know that the minister is elaborating a lot on in fact, the team that he mentioned on our offshore potential. But is there any movement for exploration, if not exploration, of our onshore deposits? And if that also adds to the total deposit that Guyana may have in its reserve? More so the Takatu Basin area, we produced oil in the 70s. Nobody sent, I know them myself. We produced oil in this, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. As producing oil in the 70s in the Takatu Basin area. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the honorable member is really meant that there was a discovery, but not producing.
Yeah, we did produce, and I think Mr. Dennison can confirm we were actually producing oil, not in an economic volume, but we
Right,
actually
this-
had oil produced from a
Right,
German company.
the discovery would have been made, but I think at that time, it was not determined to be of commercial quantity.
That's the point I'm making, Minister.
Mainly because of, I would say mainly because at that time, you didn't have the technology and equipment
So
that
the
are
question,
available today.
the question, Mr. Chair, then is,
Honorable Member, Mr.
No, no,
Solomon, you're asking a question,
Right.
Minister's
I'm coming to the
answering,
question
and
that you asked.
you seem to be in more knowledge than the Minister.
Right. I'm coming to the direct question. The direct question is whether
300
there's an
gallons.
appetite for onshore exploration while we still have offshore exploration. So we have moved from the deep, we have awarded blocks in the shallow. We are looking at the near-shore blocks. There are a few near-shore blocks. The Borbies block, for example, the Mahika block, the Demerara block. These were what we term as near-shore blocks. They're not exactly on shore, but they're very close. So those are some of the blocks under consideration right now. But right now, I can say there is no consideration of awarding any blocks onshore without consultation. Because as you would understand, that we will have to hold consultation for onshore blocks. Because especially the Takatu area, which is basically the wetland, right? And there have been groups that have been advocating to have these areas set aside for conservation and different other reasons. So the only way we can do so, or the only way we can move forward with awarding the Takatu block, we'll have to do it with much consultation. But right now, and if I may add, there are interests in the Takatu block. A few companies have indicated, they've written to us, expressing their interest in the Takatu block. Right? But I want to also report that we have not taken any further step beyond that.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 264, Petroleum Development, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. If we can turn to page 525, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 26, Program 264, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 26, Agency 26, Program 264, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable Minister, thank you and your staff for taking us through your agency and for that comprehensive presentation on your sector. Thank you very, very much. Honorable members, let the assembly resume. This is a good time to take the suspension, and we will return at 2 p.m. tomorrow to continue consideration of the estimates. To you and the staff, have a good and safe trip home.